Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack.
Welcome to Ask Amy from What Fresh Hell Laughing in the Face of Motherhood, solving your parenting dilemmas one question at a time. This week's question came from our Facebook group. A listener said, "My almost 17-year-old does not want to drive. We put him through driver's ed, and it was like pulling teeth to get him to do practice. He has ADHD and is terrified of wrecking. So my question is, do we push him to at least get his license or let it go? P.S. I'll give you one guess who wants to push." This is a bunch of different issues all in one, isn't it always? So we'll unpack it together. Teens today are driving less and later and seem weirdly unmotivated to get their license. I mean, I was counting down the days until I could drive my grandmother's Toyota Tercel to play practice. But since I got my license in the 80s, 46.2% of 16-year-olds had their license. Today, it's down to 25%. I'll put the link to that in the show notes. And I see it in my own 2 teenagers. They're not that motivated to get their license. What's the point, they're saying? You don't say where you live or how important your son's driving would be in terms of convenience or freedom for all of you, but I do think it's a good back pocket skill to have. That's how I've been presenting it to my kids. It's good to know how to do CPR. It's good to know how to use a fire extinguisher, and it's good to know how to drive. Not just for emergencies, but for fun's sake. My brother-in-law had to drive himself with a burst appendix to the hospital because he was with somebody who didn't know how to drive. So there's the emergency angle. And the fun angle, my son is now working on a road trip with some friends for this summer, and that is very much motivating him to drive all of a sudden and get the license after 2 years of dragging his heels. They will very suddenly want to know how to drive for some reason you can't predict yet, and at that time, it's just good to know how. Now let's talk about ADHD in driving. Crash rates are higher for drivers with ADHD, and that is true regardless of licensing age. But it's particularly true during the first month that a teen or an older driver with ADHD has their license. I'll put the link to the study in the show notes. It is true. Teen drivers with ADHD have more moving violations. They have more drunk driving violations. They have more sort of generally risky driving sort of violations. So it's a thing. But it's important to separate it out for yourself and for your son. ADHD doesn't cause bad driving. ADHD leads to behaviors that cause the bad driving. You feel me? So that your son is concerned about this connection is actually a good thing. That he knows this about himself, that he has ADHD, that he owns that, creates an opening for you to really talk about the risks and how he can mitigate them. You can talk about why alcohol and driving do not mix. You can talk about if he's taking medication for his ADHD. You can talk about how medication compliance is going to be really important as he starts driving. ADHD and anxiety also have a high correlation. So when you talk about your son's anxiety about driving because he has ADHD, there's also a possibility that he is more generally anxious about the idea of driving because it is a big responsibility, and that he's talking about his ADHD as a reason for his avoidance, but the avoidance is maybe more driven by the whole prospect of it being sort of scary. But giving our kids a sense of self-efficacy is not only good for them, it's actually protective for them. It actually puts them at lower risk for risky behavior. Our friend of the podcast, Jess Leahy, has a new book out called The Addiction Inoculation, and she has an article in the New York Times. I'll put a link in the show notes to this too. She explains that giving our kids the gift of self-efficacy, or leading them down that path, as the case may be, will lead to increased happiness and self-confidence in those kids. And that, in turn, actually protects them from the risky behavior. So encouraging your kid to drive and leading him down that path to more independence might help with the anxiety, might lead to more happiness and self-confidence when you're on the other side, and might lead to that kid actually being protected from the risky behaviors that are a risk for every adolescent. You also say that in this case, there's one parent pushing and one parent not. That sounds familiar. Anything with a teenager is generally going to have one parent saying, why aren't they doing this already? And one parent saying, look, he's not ready, give him time. I would say in this case, I would come down on the side of like, you don't push, you don't force, because then it just becomes something for the kid to drag their heels about. They'd love to be on the other side of their parents about something. So I wouldn't make it something to fight over, but I would keep presenting the driving as something they're going to want to do, as something they're going to want to know how to do at some point in the not distant future. And it's a step toward independence that you believe your son can take when he's ready. Just expressing that belief in your child might be enough to give them the self-confidence to give it a try. I hope that helps. Let us know how it goes. Send us your questions and we might answer yours next. Email us questions@whatfreshhellpodcast.com. Thanks for listening.